The story begins with a prisoner named Frank, who is held in a very dangerous jail. The warden there particularly despises him. Frank was thrown into a gas chamber just for talking back to the warden. This was a special cabin where a poisonous gas was released to stop a person's breathing. Frank was kept in this chamber for a long time and was in a lot of pain inside. The guard wanted to turn off the gas, but the warden said to let it continue. Frank was on the verge of dying. Only then did the warden have the gas shut off. Frank's condition became very bad. Why did the warden resent Frank so much? To find out, we need to go back in the story. Many years ago, Frank was a car mechanic living a comfortable life. He had a girlfriend, and they loved each other very much. One day, she came to meet Frank, and they spent some beautiful moments together. A little later, Frank went to play football with some kids. Everyone was enjoying themselves, with smiles on their faces. But this happiness was short-lived. After this game, his girlfriend had to drop him off somewhere, and that place was none other than a jail. Frank was actually a criminal who had been jailed, but it wasn't for a major or dangerous case. He was kept in a minor jail. It was a jail where there weren't many dangerous criminals. Everyone in that jail was very cheerful and friendly, and Frank was everyone's favorite. He never broke any rules, which is why the police allowed him to go home one day every week. He had a mentor who had taught him American football since childhood. Frank respected him greatly. One day, his mentor was suddenly attacked by some people. Frank couldn't control himself and beat those thugs until they were half dead, hitting them so badly that the court sent him to jail as punishment. When his mentor was about to die, Frank requested the jail warden to let him meet his mentor one last time. But the warden flat out refused. Because he wanted to go to his mentor no matter what, Frank escaped from jail. He was with his mentor in his final moments, and afterward he surrendered to the police himself. However, the jail he escaped from had such tight security that no one had ever escaped from there before. Frank's name spread in the media, and everyone started calling him a hero. But because he escaped from jail, an extra 5 years were added to his sentence. He continued to live in jail without breaking any rules. He spent 4 years in jail with this good behavior. Now, only 2 months of Frank's sentence remained, but that night, everything changed. Frank was in his cell when some people arrived. They were security guards from another jail. Without any warning, they forcibly took Frank to another jail. Frank was completely confused. He stated that he hadn't been informed about any transfer, but the guards just said that's how they do their job. They don't tell you when they're taking you to jail. The jail where Frank was now held was completely different. This was a high-security prison. The criminals here weren't ordinary either. Only murderers, psychopaths, and hardcore criminals resided here. The most shocking thing was that the warden of this jail was the same one from whose first jail Frank had escaped. What had happened was that after Frank's escape, that warden's reputation was ruined. He was also demoted from his position. His colleagues started making fun of him as well. That's why he now wanted to get revenge on Frank. As soon as Frank arrived at the jail, an officer explained all the rules to him. If any rule was broken, there would be severe punishment. A little later, Frank was brought before the warden. The warden started saying that Frank escaped from jail, and the media made him a hero, but his career was ruined. There was a time when he was among the top wardens in the country. Now people laughed at him behind his back. Frank calmly replied that it was his fault. He had requested him to let him go for an hour. He refused, so Frank escaped. But the warden didn't care one bit about what he said. For him, this was just an opportunity for revenge. Now, Frank was given his first punishment for talking back. The story had returned to where it began. He was tormented by being put in a gas chamber. There was a very dangerous prisoner in this jail named Chink. Everyone was afraid of him because he was the warden's special guy. The warden told him to teach Frank a lesson. One day, when Frank was in the yard outside his cell, Chink and his men surrounded Frank. Chink had a sharp ice pick in his hand, which was enough to kill anyone in one blow. But just as he was about to attack, a sea officer arrived. He saw the weapon in Chink's hand, but as he got closer to catch Chink with the weapon, Chink took advantage of the crowd and hid the weapon with the help of the people. The officer asked Frank if Chink had a weapon. Frank thought for a moment and flatly denied it because he wanted to avoid any kind of fight here. He wanted to be free and return to his life. Now, Frank started working as a cleaner in the jail. Then another prisoner came to him named Dallas. Dallas told Frank that he was also a prisoner in the jail Frank had escaped from. He said Frank was truly a genius. He added that the warden wouldn't let him live anyway, so they should both escape from there. But Frank refused him because he didn't need to escape. His sentence would be over in 2 months anyway. But still, Dallas thought that maybe Frank would agree later, so he said he could get Frank a mechanic's job in the garage. Frank immediately agreed to this. He took Frank to the garage, but the head mechanic there refused to give Frank work because he wanted a skilled worker who had experience and wouldn't need to be taught everything. Now Dallas told Frank his plan. He was thinking of escaping by going into an overhead pipe. pipe. Frank explained to him that the temperature inside that pipe was so high that he wouldn't survive. Hearing this, Dallas's face fell. The next day, a new prisoner named Bieno arrived in the mess hall. Bieno was a bit naive, and everyone used to bother him. Frank helped him and went and sat with him. Bieno clearly stated that he didn't want to join any gang. They were both talking when another prisoner suddenly killed someone else with that same ice-picking tool. Bieno was very scared seeing this. Frank told him that if he didn't join a group, something like this would happen to him sooner or later. After that, Bieno joined Frank in Dallas's group. The next day, Chink challenged Frank to a rugby match and Frank accepted. Then a dangerous match began where Chink and his men were cheating, repeatedly attacking Frank under the guise of the game. But Frank was an excellent player, and he already knew they would try something. He was retaliating against every one of their attacks. The head mechanic, who had refused to give Frank work in the garage, was also watching this match. When he saw Frank playing, he was deeply moved. He was impressed by Frank's hard work and courage. Now he himself entered the match and started beating everyone. With his help, Frank's team won the match. After the match, he told Frank that he could start working in the garage tomorrow. The next day, Frank went to the garage where the head mechanic showed him the entire place. There was a Mustang car standing there, an old broken-down vehicle. The mechanic said that it was his favorite car, but now its engine was completely dead. He added that it would never run again. Frank then asked if he could try to fix it once. The mechanic smiled and said that if Frank fixed that car, he would do whatever Frank asked. Frank immediately started working. He read many books and opened the engine. He worked diligently on this car, and within a few days, the Mustang's engine started again. He also painted the car, and it looked brand new. Now, Frank was about to get in the car and drive it. Bieno also sat in the car with Frank. Bieno said that he didn't know how to drive. After that, Frank taught him how to drive. Then Bieno emotionally asked if he would ever be able to drive this car again, to which Frank simply said, no. That was all Bieno needed to hear, and he then forcibly took the Mustang to the ground. There, he drove the car around a few times. Hearing the commotion in the yard, the warden came there and saw everything. He knew very well that Bieno had done all this, but he told Bieno to leave because this was the best opportunity for him to get revenge on Frank. He gave Chink a baseball bat and told him to smash the car to pieces. Chink, without wasting any time, broke the Mustang right in front of Frank. Tears were in Frank's eyes. Finally, all his hard work, his dream, everything was ruined in seconds. As punishment, Frank was put in a dark room. Not only that, but to torture him, bright lights would be shined on him many times a day, which wouldn't even let him sleep. Whenever he started to fall asleep, he was asked to state his name while being watched on camera. Frank endured everything and stayed in that cell for many days. His mental balance was now deteriorating. One day, when he was asked his name, he gave the wrong name. Then guards came and started beating him badly. Just then, the captain of that jail arrived. He saw everything and stopped everyone immediately. He knew very well that something very wrong was happening to Frank. The captain took Frank out of there, and then he found out that Frank's girlfriend had sent him some letters that had not been given to him yet. Today, for the first time, he was given all those letters. Frank read them. Every letter was full of love. There was a lot of hope. Frank was very happy and started feeling that maybe everything would be all right now. Now, he came out of that dark room and went to the garage to meet his friends. There, Bieno apologized to him and said that he deserved the punishment. He asked Frank to forgive him, saying he made a big mistake. To this, Frank said that it didn't matter anymore. He had spent 40 days in this jail, only 20 days were left, and then he would be free. The next day, as Frank was eating in the mess, Chink came to him. He picked up Frank's plate and took it away. But Frank didn't say anything. But his friends fed Frank a little from their own plates. When the warden found out about this, he became even angrier. He called Chink and told him to do anything that would increase Frank's sentence. After that, Chink and his men made a new plan. He called both Frank and Bieno to the gym room and attacked them there. They were beaten badly, and Bieno was specifically targeted. Chink dropped a very heavy bench press bar on Bieno. At that very moment, Bieno died of pain. When Frank found out about this, his anger knew no bounds. He knew that all this was happening to keep him in jail. The warden wanted Frank to fight Chink, and for this, he had now crossed all limits. Frank decided that he would not stay silent anymore. Now he went outside. He stood in front of Chink and his associates and started beating them badly. His anger was evident in every punch. This was not just a fight. Frank had to avenge his friend's death. Frank hit Chink so hard that he fell onto a bench. Just as Chink had killed Bieno earlier, Frank decided he would kill him the same way. But he then looked at the warden's window, who was watching his every move. Frank understood that this was the warden warden's ploy. The warden wanted Frank to kill Chink so that his sentence would be extended and he could torture him for life. But Frank did not let the warden's plan succeed. At that very moment, a man from Chink's gang attacked Frank from behind and injured him, after which Frank was immediately taken to the medical room. His girlfriend also met him there. She had only half an hour to meet Frank. They were both happy to see each other because their love was very deep, but within just 5 minutes, guards came there and took his girlfriend outside. At night, when Frank was in his cell, another prisoner came to him and said that he was going to be free tomorrow. He threatened that as soon as he was free, he would go to Frank's girlfriend first. He said she was very smooth and that he would have fun playing with her. He also had a picture of Frank's girlfriend. This made Frank very upset, and he asked the guards for permission to make a phone call, but the guards refused. Just then, Dallas came there, and Frank said that he needed to escape from here as soon as possible. Dallas said that Frank's sentence was going to end in a few days, so why was he thinking of escaping? But Frank explained that if he didn't get out of there, someone would kill his girlfriend. That's why they both started planning to escape from jail. First, they knocked out the on-duty guard. Then they climbed over the wall and went to the other side. There was a place where the path went in both directions. Frank said they should go right, but Dallas said no, they should go left. He said he knew the way from there. Frank listened to him and went left. Further on, the warden was standing there with many of his guards. After that, Frank was caught, and he understood that Dallas had betrayed him. Frank asked him why he did that to him. Dallas explained that he had received a life sentence, and the warden had promised him an opportunity to escape if he trapped Frank. The warden said that Frank's sentence was increased by 5 years the first time he escaped, and now it would be increased by 10 years for attempting it a second time. The warden threatened that he would drive Frank crazy in that jail within the next 10 years. Dallas then asked the warden to let him go, saying he had followed all his instructions and even helped catch Frank. But the warden said that no one escapes from his jail. Then he signaled his guards, and they beat Dallas very badly and then threw him in the water. The warden told his guards to beat Frank in the same way and then lock him in his cell. When the guards came to attack Frank, Frank didn't stay silent either. He also attacked the guards. He was hitting each guard one by one, and he even threw one guard into the water. As he was leaving, Dallas said that Frank could understand his helplessness and asked him to take him along. Frank, being big-hearted, forgave him too and extended his hand. Then in the water, a guard started strangling Frank with a chain. Just then, Dallas took out an electrical wire and said that if they didn't release Frank, he would release current into the water and they would all die. Soon, Frank escaped from there and everyone started searching for him, but no one could understand where he was. The warden was very angry and said that he wanted Frank alive. Just then, Frank came from behind and held a knife to the warden's throat, saying, "Did you think I would just escape from here and spend my life running from the police? No, I'm not going to do that. That wouldn't be a life." Frank took the warden to the execution room and made him sit in the electric chair. This was where prisoners sentenced to death were placed. Security guards and the captain were also there. Frank tied his hand with tape to the electric switch. Everyone's guns were pointed at Frank. Frank said that if they shot him, he would fall, and the weight of his hand would turn on the switch, killing the warden. Now the captain stopped everyone and said that no one would shoot. Then Frank told the warden that he would have to confess all his crimes, everything he had done to Frank. The captain also told the warden to confess, saying it was better than dying. The warden told the captain the whole truth about how he had trapped Frank to make him try to escape and increase his sentence. Suddenly, Frank pulled the switch. The warden screamed, but he didn't get electrocuted because Frank had already removed the fuse. Frank said that he never wanted to kill the warden. He wanted the truth to come out. After this, the captain told the soldiers to arrest Frank and also the warden because he had broken many laws to satisfy his personal grudge. After this, Frank was permanently released from jail a week later because everything he had done was part of the warden's conspiracy. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.